you.
Pig mug. Unfortunately, well, I use my left hand, so it would work if I was the other way.
Hi, welcome everyone to the Talking into Profit show. Sorry, Beth and I were deciding who's got the coolest mug today, but we all got cool ones. But this is a show where we bring together experts in their niche and have a conversation on a topic that I know both me and you are interested in learning more about. So this is your chance to show up, ask questions, find out more, and then drop them in the comments for us and make sure we get them answered for you, because this is all about you and me getting questions answered from an expert. So if anybody is here, let us know in the comments. Just pop in where you're joining us from, just so we can tell that you're hearing us. We're all live. Everything's going okay. And by the way, we do love it when you join the conversation. So do drop your thoughts, your opinions, your questions in the comments. Be aware we have a little bit of a lag with Restream before we see them, but we will make sure we get them all answered and responded to, because you are part of the conversation as well. Today, I'm talking to my kick-ass guest, my own personal ego fluffer, Miss Beth Ann Campbell.
Hello.
Yes,
Cheers.
she's the testimonial queen, who happens to be an award-winning author on her book. I'm going to flash this a couple times. Speaker, host of the Thirsty Professional live series. It's on Fridays, guys. She's also a proud survivor of 23 years of corporate chaos and is now passionate about dropping the BS and getting real about careers, purpose, and fulfillment. And when she isn't ranting about bad leadership, she is raving about mindset work can improve our careers, our lives, and help us manifest our dreams. She's also a lover of sarcasm, swearing, jazz hands, and of course, bacon. Yeah, see, where the hell is my bacon? Yeah, I'm going to flash that up there. Beth, so thank you so much for joining me today. I'm
Thank
thrilled and
you.
excited to have you in the conversation with me and to share your experiences with us about how you give such amazing testimonials.
Well, thank you, Heidi. Thanks for having me, and thanks for bringing it to my attention that I am your personal ego fluffer. I do appreciate that. Yeah, you were the one who actually pointed out to me, Beth. You give really good testimonials, and I'd never thought about it before. But hey, you know what? Maybe I do. Let's talk about it. So that was a great idea you had.
I mean, you do. You really do. And I mean, we're going to really dive into all this here as we get going. But I want to
Yes.
remind everybody, don't forget to connect and follow Beth Ann over on LinkedIn, Facebook, wherever you are. YouTube, she's over there as well. And if you want a good laugh, and I'm going to do one more plug for her book, Where the Hell is My Bacon? I just recommend getting it, but don't read it at night if you have a partner that you sleep with, because I guarantee you will wake them up laughing.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I try. It's easy. I mean, I have a little bit of sarcasm in me, so as you know, Heidi, just a teeny bit. So it does come out in my humor a bit.
Yeah, she's not only sarcastic, she's got quite a sense of humor. It is a very good book. There's a lot in it about that,
Thank you.
but it will. I laughed. And I was trying to read it at night, and I just learned not to do
Well,
that.
plus it makes you hungry too because I'm talking
That
about
too.
bacon for the whole book. So it's like, is it
Everything's
breakfast
about
yet?
bacon.
That's
By the
right.
way, there's recipes in the back as well
Yeah.
for some of
Yeah.
Beth's favorite recipes that
Hmm.
all include bacon. No surprise.
Yeah.
So, by the way, everyone, if we aren't connected either yet, don't forget to drop me a connection request, hit follow, ring my bell so that you don't miss a tip when turning your connections into profitable opportunities. Now, let's dive in here. How many of you with us today, if you don't get testimonials from your clients, you don't even ask for them because you
Mm.
feel awkward as fuck for having to ask for one. I mean, they really just should give them to you, right? They loved it. They told you they loved it.
Wouldn't
Why
that be
not?
great? But unfortunately, that is not how the world works.
It's really not. And it's not because people don't want to leave a testimonial for you. It's usually 9 times out of 10, they got busy, they forgot, and they just never got around to it. Is the real
Yeah.
reason.
Yeah, or
But
they don't really know how. Some people just they're like, "I'm not really sure what to say." In my world, I know, you deal with people that are probably a little bit more savvy, but I did a little bit of, corporate coaching, and I just don't think that they know how to they're like, "What? I don't even know what to do." So, yeah.
I think that's truly the case because, I do ask all my clients for testimonials, and a lot of them, about 50% never get around to doing it. But then probably about out of 60% of the ones that do is, I love you guys. I do. And this is nothing against any of you. But yeah, the testimonials are, we can do some work on it, which is why
Well,
we got Beth here
you make
today.
a good point though, Heidi, because I do think a lot of people just get caught. I do myself. I just thought when I was thinking about this this call, I thought, wow, I really should. I haven't written a testimonial for a couple of the networking calls that I've been on, and I really should. And I didn't think about it. So you make a really good point of this. Sometimes people just they're just not even thinking about it. It's not.
Yeah.
And I think part of it's a little because we're so wired to be negative because, if you go to a restaurant, even if you've been there 100 times, if you have one bad service, our tendency is to go, "Oh, we gotta go write a bad review." And then and with testimonials, it's like but with the good stuff, you just forget the 99 times that it was great and you never wrote a review, but we're just sort of wired to be a little negative, so I think we just intuitively don't even think if somebody gave bad service, I had a bad review on my book once, a one-star review, and if people hate it, they're more than willing to come out and say, yes, I hated it. But when they like you, I think they just don't even think. And so, yeah, I have to remind people or bargain with them a little. So,
Well, and that's just it. I mean, there was a statistic that I knew, and this is from 10 years ago, guys. So I don't really know if it's new or not, or still it hasn't gone up or whatever. But it was that 95% of people, if they had a bad experience, will leave you a review. So this
yeah.
was in thing for why good service is important. But unfortunately, 88% of them won't leave one when it was great.
Yeah.
And and then the other part of the stat that went with it is that for every person who had a bad review, they will tell 9 people, but they will only tell 3 people they had a good one.
Yeah, I believe it. We are hardwired. 10,000 years ago, it was really great to be hardwired to be negative because we could save ourselves from whatever, the tiger or the lightning. But now it just doesn't, but we're still, it's evolutionarily, we are that way. That's why we have problems with inner critics and stuff. It's all related to that negativity. So I believe that statistic.
Well, and I also think it's a little bit the society we live in too. It's hardwired to, let's be honest, a lot of our society has gotten to be dog eat dog world. It's a solo thing, and people are quick to go after people when they had something bad, but they're also not quick to be so supportive. Instead, we're on a little isolated bubble here. And especially when we're talking about business owners and coaches, and let's get around to our business people here.
Yeah,
But people, in a sense, also aren't as quick to reach out with helping hands and stuff as much as they used
100%.
to be. And
Yeah,
a lot of people don't think how much, because I found a stat here today, is that 92% of consumers trust recommendations over other forms of traditional ads. And it's
yeah.
like,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, think about it. I mean, how often do you go on it? I'll go ask somebody their recommendation before I buy
Oh,
something. Heck, I just bought a stick blender, literally, and I told my friend the
yeah.
one I bought is the one she has because she recommended it to me.
Oh, recommendations, whether they're written or in some other form or verbal, even just a single one from a friend. I mean, how many times have you and I been talking and you've just told me some book? I even have a section in my daily note planner for when people give me recommendations because of somebody that I trust. I've paid good money for coaching, pain coaching based on one recommendation from you. So yeah, I think they're very powerful. And I totally agree with you. It's kind of like when you have those friends and you go, your friends, it's a friend if that friend supports you when you're going through a tough time, but it's a real friend who supports you when you're going through a positive time because it's harder to do
Yes.
again, we're just wired to be gravitate towards, the negative stuff and we can't and it's like compliments. Like we'll be very catty behind the scenes about people, but how many times do we fill somebody's cup or give them a sincere compliment? Sometimes it feels awkward, and that's okay. That's why we're here today. We're going to help you
Yeah.
feel less awkward about doing anything like this. Great
Yeah,
recommendation.
because we're talking to, I mean, we are business owners. We're talking to other business owners here. We do a lot of B2B here. We got a lot of service providers and coaches in the audience. And testimonials are freaking important to our
There-
business, both to give and receive. Because I mean, do you know how many people's day I make when because I'll talk. I think put this in the comments yesterday when I was talking to you, but what I do throughout the year is I keep a little list of people that I've really gotten to know really well, or sometimes I've used their services and I do add their name to the list. I try to, when I've used services, I give the testimonial immediately now. I've really gotten
yeah.
in that mode. But for even um, like people I've gotten really close to, I really know what they're doing, and I'll keep a little list. And I don't know, 4 or 5 times a year, I'll go back and I'll just start dropping LinkedIn recommendations. Nobody asked me. It's
Yeah.
just I truly believe give them, you get them too, and it just really makes people's day. But it's also so important for our
Oh, it
business.
is. I mean, as an author, I really rely on things like, so I am an author, but also a podcaster speaker. So in my product sales, I rely on Amazon reviews. Every review that I get and every rating I get helps the algorithm promote me, right? It's the same thing. It's because people do pay attention to that stuff. They absolutely do. I completely agree that it is important when we do get testimonials and recommendations, especially from people we trust or repeated, right? Where we get a lot of from different people and we go, yeah, this has got to be right. Who hasn't gone to Amazon and looked at the reviews and said, oh, okay, I know it looks like, yeah, a lot of people really like this. They're verified. It's important. It's very important, and it's equally important for service providers too. This is you could it could make or break you. It really could. It's like you said in one of your posts. It's a hell yes or a hell no sometimes.
Yeah, and let's talk about that. What makes the difference between a hell yes and a hell no in a testimonial for you? Because I mean, you give.
Oh
Before you answer that, I mean, Beth gives testimonials. Guys, if you aren't connected with her, go look at her profile and just scroll down and look at the testimonials. This woman does videos, she does written content. I mean, she just shouts out people and she's got details in it as to why you should be connecting with them. And I mean, I know your
yeah,
mindset coach, Ava. You just put out the videos. You've put them out for me, and it's the way you give
yeah.
testimonials really makes people stop and say, "Oh my God, I need to check out this person." But in
Well,
your eyes, what
yeah.
makes the difference between a hell yes and a hell no on a testimonial?
Well, it's first of all, thank you, Heidi. You were actually the person I never even thought about it. For me, this is sort of intuitive, and I've done had a lot of practice. It wasn't always easy at first, but for me, I like to leave people with increase. I like to leave people with filling their cup, right? And yes, I will give crappy reviews on the restaurant too, but I know what it feels like to get a good review when somebody is really likes what you do. And I had no idea that I was such a in your eyes a great testimonial person until you said to me just a few months ago, Beth, you really do a great job. And I had to stop and think and go back and look and say, well, I guess I do. I do a lot of variety. I think what makes a good testimonial just in general, and it's different for everybody. It's different for depending on what you're giving a testimonial for and what service. And so there's a lot of little variations, but in general, I think sincerity is the most important thing. So if you're using AI, fine, but make it your own voice, right? I mean, we love AI, right, for many reasons, but don't just go out and say, write me up a review that has, that just sounds fake, right? Sincerity, because people will know that. A tip that I have for that is I do this in videos, even sometimes not with testimonials, just when I need something to be a little bit more sincere. I pretend like I'm talking to you, Heidi, sometimes, or just somebody, and I'll just go like, hey, hey Heidi, I had this great experience, and I'll just kind of brainstorm that, and it helps me get a
Yeah.
little more authentic and sincere to start off with, right? So sincerity. I think that you need to include what was the service, right? So some context of what the person helped you with. if you had a problem, maybe talk about what the problem was. There's not always a problem. Sometimes you take a class or a workshop and it's just badass, like most of yours are, all of yours are. And then how the person helped you. How did they provide value for you? It's, and it doesn't have to be fluffy or fancy. It's just basically, and the more detail I think you can get in there of specifics, I think the more sincere and authentic it sounds.
Hmm.
And then, end it with just a simple recommendation, and that could be as something as easy as highly recommend, Heidi's courses or something like that. But so, yeah, so sincerity, what your problem was, what was the context of what you worked in, what's the value that was provided in as much detail as you can get, that will help the reader understand, and then a recommendation.
Yeah, I mean,
What
that's
would
a
you
great
add,
way to look
Heidi?
at it. I fully agree with you on that. And I mean, it is the detail. That's what matters.
Hmm.
It's the detail. Yeah, because we've got, I think it's Saria. I'm probably killing your name and I so apologize. But he says testimonials are a great tool to earn people's trust. Using them strategically will in your service product be a hell yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly that. David says that's because you give them without wanting something back.
Well, yeah. Thank you. I mean, and that is true. And it's honestly, it's okay if something is self-serving, right? Maybe you expect, maybe you're going to have some more work with somebody. But yeah, I mean, if you give a testimonial just because you just had great service and you had a great relationship and a great experience, the sincerity is gonna automatically come through. I think it's going to be
And I'm
intuitive.
going to be honest. I'm going to be completely honest here. I like giving testimonials. It makes me feel good.
Well, yes. Thank you.
It makes
Heidi,
me
great
feel good
point.
that I'm hopefully helping someone else have a good day. So if that makes me feel better, because it's part of my gratitude thing. So
Mm.
I'm going to be honest, I do get something back out of it, to be
Well,
perfectly honest.
absolutely. It's really, and this is an energy mindset thing, right? Because we have talked so much about, we talked about in your appearance on my show, The Thirsty Professional, about you were putting energy out there. You are sincerely had a great experience with somebody. You put a little bit of time and effort into this, and guess what? That energy is going to come back to you. You're putting it out there. You're experiencing gratitude. The more we are grateful, the more we have more to be grateful for. So 100%. It is
Yeah. And I mean, I do because I do believe that the energy comes back to me. And hey, I want my clients to give me testimonials. So if
right.
I'm not giving them, how can I expect to get them back?
Yeah.
But I mean, for me, though, it does give me the warm and fuzzies every time I give one. It gives them when I get them too. But I'll be honest, I do love giving them. So,
I do too. It's a little, it's an, well, you call me your ego fluffer. It is an ego
yeah.
boost when somebody, because we are bombarded every single day. It doesn't matter how successful we are or how on top of the world we are. We have those moments, and for me, it's every day where I'm questioning, the inner voice is kicking in. So when somebody comes out there and says, you know what, Beth, I really loved your book. Or, Beth, I really think that you have so many great people in your life because you are attracting them because of your personality. It's like, oh my God, thank you so much. It does make us feel good. And when
It
I can do
does.
that for somebody else, filling somebody's cup, it serves me. It is selfish in a good way because we do get something back from it.
I like that. Selfish in a good way. I think that's positive on that. Everybody who's here with us in the conversation, I mean, how do you feel when you get a testimonial? Do you immediately feel better? Hopefully it was all good ones. We're talking about good ones here, of course. Now, you did say something too about we give good ones, but I think it is also important to recognize that it is okay to give bad ones as well too, because
Yeah.
yes, we do want to give it, but and I don't want to say good and bad, honest,
Yeah, I don't
honest.
ever want anybody to not give me an honest review because I
Yeah,
wanna learn from that, but, and we'll talk about this in a minute, I know, because you are the queen. If I'm the queen of giving, you are the queen of using testimonials, and I used my one-star review from Alice Cooper, not the Alice Cooper, Be My Frankenstein Alice Cooper, but just Alice Cooper, somebody, on my book, my first one-star review, and I promoted that as just, because it's you
I
have to
remember
find
that.
yeah, I mean, but yeah, I wanna know if you cannot accept a sincere and honest testimonial that isn't, 5 out of 5 stars, then you really need to evaluate yourself. That's on you, you, the collective you, because you need to know. In fact, I want to know. I want to know what could
Same.
I have done better. But I will
Yeah.
say, if you're giving a negative review and you're just being pissy, that's not a good
Yes.
reason. But if you're giving one for some constructive, I
Yes.
would find ways to, what would you have done better and what could have been done to make your experience, more pleasurable. I would include that stuff too.
I think that's what's important because I was thinking the same thing. Don't be a troll with it and don't be mean just to be mean. Give an
Right.
honest
Don't be a
review.
dick.
Okay, you had bad service. Fine. I agree
Yeah.
with Beth here. A little constructive criticism, what went wrong, but don't be an ass just to be an ass.
Yeah, I mean, think about in context too, right? Are you going to write a bad review because, the restaurant's an example, right? Because you had bad service one day, but it was super busy and you could hear the manager yelling at the waiter and it wasn't really, I mean, now you're just being a dick,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
don't be a dick.
Yeah. That's tag. Good advice across the board.
That's my motto. Don't be a dick. Don't be a
Yeah,
dick.
David says giving makes you feel good, hands down. And then Ami says releasing a testimonial feels amazing, and giving them feels even better when you honestly believe in them. Yes,
Yeah. Well,
absolutely.
I'll tell you what, and I know you do this too, Heidi. When you get testimonials, I don't care where they're from. I got them from my people that I managed in corporate. I've gotten them, my book reviews and just services. I keep them and I keep them in a file because when you're having one of those bad days and you're questioning, you go and it's like, there it is in a file, and I can read all of these amazing things. So,
Yeah, mine's called client love.
yes, yes. Yeah, I have them on my vision board, so I have quotes from people that have said things over the years. When I published my first book, I got some really nice, feedback from friends saying, I always knew you were a great writer, and if I ever had a magazine, I would hire you. And it's heartfelt when you get those really sincere testimonials. Keep them because they are gold for
Yeah.
years. When you question yourself, pull out
Yeah.
your testimonial file.
Before we move on from this point, too, we know what makes a testimonial truly powerful is the details. I want to bring it back to that versus generic praise. Like you
Yeah,
sometimes get a testimonial, oh, great service. Okay, that's
yeah.
not good
That's not
enough.
helpful. That's not
Yeah,
helping anyone.
that's the ones where we go like, okay, we love you, but could you please do a little
Yeah.
detail with that, right?
So Heidi, if you're okay, I actually had an example that I would,
Ooh,
yeah. So
yes.
just in my book, again, it's going to vary depending on your service that you're getting, or your experience. So I wrote one, and I actually did take this course. I don't think I wrote this testimonial, but I probably gave you another one. But anyway, so here's an example. I took Heidi's 90-day promotion 1-day course. I had been struggling trying to figure out what to post on LinkedIn to promote my growing career coaching business. There's the problem. Heidi helped me plan out 3 months of posts and content in just 2 hours. Her tips were clear and the material well presented. It was so easy, and Heidi made it fun and entertaining. It didn't feel like work at all. Highly recommend Heidi in her workshops. I could put a little bit more detail in there, but you see, it's what was my problem? How did she help me? What was the value that I got in a little bit of detail, right? It's not a novel. And then a recommendation. So I think something like that is pretty simple. And also, by the way, true. I've taken Heidi's 90-day promotion course, and it was fabulous. So, yeah.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, my ego fluffer in the house.
And it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be, again, a novel. And you can just, start off. But like Heidi says, I think the more detail that you can put in there just adds to the sincerity that somebody just says, oh, you really, look, it's the siren. It's
Always, there's
the
always
traditional,
one.
the traditional, the traditional talking into profits every time. I love it.
Every
I tell
time
people
there's
it's
one.
legendary. You're legendary for that, Heidi. Every time.
There literally hasn't been one all day for the last 4 hours, and there it is. Oh well, that's the
Every time.
power of live, everyone. Let's see. Saria says giving testimonials to read genuine people who really have an impact on you makes feels good. couldn't agree more with Ami. By the way, put in the comments, please, how to say your name correctly, because I don't want to be butchering it if I am, or let me know I am saying it correctly, please. I try to get people's names right, but hey, it depends on where you are from in the world.
Oh, that could be our next episode, Heidi, is dealing with
Ooh,
names.
getting names right. I know it's
Hmm.
so hard. I just find it's easier just to ask people. It's like,
Yeah,
okay, I
just like a
try and then I
testimonial.
ask because it's like, I'm not trying to kill your name and I'm so sorry if I do, but please tell me how to say it correctly.
Just like a testimonial. Sometimes you just have to ask, and that's
Yeah.
okay. You should ask.
That's right. That's right.
Yes.
By the way, everybody, this show is cast live each week on LinkedIn and YouTube. If you can't make it live, we recommend that you watch the show or any of our past shows on YouTube. Are you subscribed? It's at Talk to Heidi, Heidi Medina on YouTube. We'll drop a link in the comments. You'll get notified of our upcoming live events and be able to watch the replays. So don't forget to like and subscribe. As
Do
we
it.
are moving on with that, let's see. Amy said, "Oh, it's Amy. Sorry, I changed the spelling when I took French in high school. I was like, Amy was the French. Okay, okay, Amy, we got you right. Thank you for that. And then let's talk about yes, giving and asking for someone to give you a testimony. How do we do that so that it's not awkward as fuck? And they're going to give you one. They're happy to give it to you. How do we get in the position we can do that?
Well, I like the direct method. So I have, and even something up front is, you can talk about it during your services, right? If you're doing a workshop, I would certainly say, hey, I would love for you to give me some feedback on how this went for you. So, and then tell them how, right? What works for them, right? Not everybody's going to, be Beth Campbell putting a video up, but I have just asked, I've given away services when I was dabbling in coaching. I did free coaching in exchange for a testimonial. And so I know, because only half of my clients gave me a testimonial, and it's not because I didn't do great work. It's just the other half, I don't think they knew what to do, even though I provided a template and a guide and ask. But I like the direct method, but you can weave that into whatever you're doing. I think you, especially doing a lot of interaction with workshops and programs, bake it in there, or
Yeah.
and or you can send something after the fact, like if you're sending a thank you. I've had that with some podcasts, like, hey, and make it easy for people. Like, here's what I would love.
Yes.
And you have to know your audience. So me with the corporate people, they're not going to do a video, they're not going to create a graphic. So I said, even an email's fine. If you don't feel comfortable putting a post out or doing a LinkedIn recommendation, or something that's a little bit more public, send me an email. I will take
Mhm.
anything. I can use anything. So I like just to be direct, but also to weave it into whatever it is, the service that you're providing. What about you, Heidi? What are some of your tips?
I'm very direct about it as well. I just go ahead and ask. I'll send a DM. I do try to include it, and I'm actually working to get better at this. Like, I want to do follow up surveys after every one of my events. That's something I'm adding this year for sure. I've done it on one or two in the past, but now I want to make it part of my process. And in that, I want to go ahead and ask for that as well. And I do. And I think you did a key thing. Was well, two key things actually was one, make it easy as possible. Wherever they want to do it, I don't care. I'll take it.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm really about that. Obviously, we want them. The big thing for me is if I can get it as public as possible where I can't touch it, they're more valid. So I
yeah.
do like LinkedIn recommendations. I do like
I
you
do too.
posting them on your own profile because that means I couldn't have touched it. And because I know those are much more valid to people. But if somebody's not comfortable with that, they want to email it to me, they want to DM it, and that I got permission to use it, I'll
Yeah.
take it.
One of the things that one of my clients did I thought was really interesting is, so I had again, in exchange for free services, as I was dabbling in coaching and starting, I said I would like a testimonial. I don't, I'm not telling you
Yeah.
what to put. So this was actually brilliant. She did this a couple of times where she follows me. So she would take a couple of my posts that had to do with maybe some mindset work or maybe some corporate stuff that was similar to what she was going through. She reposted it with a testimonial and said, look, I worked with Beth. had one-on-one, and she is amazing, really helped me out, highly recommended, etc. And I thought that was a little bit different. Like it's a little bit easier than, because I think a lot of people, especially in that genre of client, are not necessarily really comfortable with their own posts, but they repost a lot. And if you can just add a few lines, I'll take it. I'll take that.
Mhm.
And she did it twice, and that really worked. So get
Yeah.
creative too. But yeah, anything public is great. I mean, if they send it to me in an email and I've requested it, I consider that, because I've said, that I always say that I could use, could you send me something, even if it's an email that I could use, publicly. And I don't even care about doing it anonymously if they're uncomfortable. Maybe in my world, the corporate people, they don't like to advertise that they're getting coaching. I'm okay doing it anonymously if it's a good one, but yeah.
Yeah, well, we'll be talking about, but that leads me to some, when we're going to come up about repurposing them. I
Mm,
will easily take a comment from somebody that doesn't really want to be named, and I just say my client did and XYZ, and leave it at that. That's all we need. It doesn't. We don't have to name people if they're not comfortable
yeah.
with being named, and that's a big thing on using them as social proof. So we'll just go ahead and start dipping our toes in that a little bit. That's coming up too, but
Oh, that's gonna be fun. You are the
yeah,
queen.
but the big thing though, I mean, everything about this is, do you think there's an optimal point where you can actually request one? I'm always curious what people think of this.
I think it really just depends, right? With my books, that's a product and it's a little bit different, but this is probably why I know people are uncomfortable with them, because I know I've had private feedback of really good stuff about my book, but with the number of people that bought the book and the number of people and their friends and colleagues, that didn't write me testimonials. So I know people are uncomfortable, but I think it really just depends. I think, in my case, when I was coaching, I was right up front. Look, I will give you free services in exchange for a testimonial. But for somebody who's maybe you're in a workshop or in a networking call, where you're leading it, right? For your networking calls, or a master class or something like that, or a one-on-one coaching. I don't know. It could really just depend. If you have a client who's, at a 20 on a scale of 1 to 10 from stress, and maybe it's not the right time at the beginning to say, hey, could you also, when you're done, you might want to wait, right? But if it's standard or if it's a class, I'd weave it in at the beginning. In fact, you prompted me to change my structure for my live, where I'm going to start adding a request for, hey, if you really like this, could you go out on, and I have it at the end, but why not put it at the front?
Yeah.
It's
Well,
important.
actually,
Make
I
it
mean, we're
fun.
talking about this, and I realize I don't have it weaved into here or my networking events.
Well,
So I'm
Heidi,
going to do more on asking. Which, speaking of, anybody in our audience wants to leave us a testimonial how much you love the show, please do.
please like
It
and
matters.
subscribe and leave a review, right? And I think that's another thing too, Heidi. I think a lot of people think, especially with something like that, like we both stream to YouTube, and so we have
Yeah.
the replay that we generally send them to YouTube. Ratings are great, and they're very helpful, but if you leave a public comment that's,
Oh,
really
yes.
talks about it, or a review, like on anything, if you're listening to a podcast or whatever, there's so much more gold in
Yeah.
the actual review than, and I'm not saying if you are completely opposed to it, please do leave the rating still and like and subscribe, but the reviews are just, it's platinum, diamond.
They are. We can reuse them if they take you a couple minutes. Please leave the comments and just and a review, or even a comment saying you loved the episode or whatever.
Yeah,
It makes such a difference to those as you're being an ego fluffer a little bit for us, because we're putting these shows out and sometimes we need feedback. And hey,
we
if you
appreciate
hated
it.
it, tell us too and what you hated about it.
Yeah.
Hopefully you don't, but hey, if you do, we would like to know. But yeah, we kind of we do a lot of these live events, and it's good for us to hear some stuff back from you. So even if it's a quick comment, loved it, here's why I loved it, it helps so much just for us to feel confident and keep bringing it to you too. Mhm. But let's see, Renee, she said, that's great to know about not needing to name people. Yeah, you definitely
Yeah.
don't have to name people. And so if they want to be kept that way, Yeah, I had private feedback about my books. It's very personal things where I don't feel like I can share even anonymously because that person will feel violated or revealed. Now
That's
that's
fair.
different.
That's fair.
Yeah, be careful on that one. And anything that's revealing and can tell who the person is,
Yeah.
if they don't want to be named, then please don't.
Yeah.
But
Now if somebody puts something out, like for example, in with books, people will all the time on Amazon put, they have a fake name or it's anonymous. It's public. It's fair game. Alice Cooper used her real name.
yeah, I
I
mean, as
think
far as we
maybe
know,
she's
that's
not.
her real name. So she put
Maybe.
it out. Yeah, if it's in public, it's okay to use it all and everything like that. So, you know, just use, I always say with this, use your common sense and how you would want to be used. Because I've seen people put out comments from private DMs from people without asking.
Yeah, no. That's bad
From,
form. Yeah, for
yeah,
private
I mean,
DMs, unless you ask
yes,
specifically and say, "This is amazing. Do
yes.
you mind if I share?" And they say in writing, "Yes," then absolutely. But yeah, that's bad form. Bad form.
Yeah, I mean, just I had a post I did a couple days ago with Rudy and Albert from the Founders Network, and it was actually about a private conversation we had, and where I was giving them a little help and just talking back and forth. And I before I put that post out because I really wanted to put it out showing we can collaborate even when we're in similar, we sell similar products. But I sent them a DM because I wanted to name them in it and that we had done this and say, hey, is this okay with you?
Yeah, yeah,
And I mean that because it was a review for them in a sense. I'm shouting out the Founders Network, which I am, badass networking place.
yeah. Check
Um,
them out.
yeah, Beth knows it too. We're both in there, but I still wouldn't want to violate that we had a private call and then talk about it publicly without asking that they were okay with that. And it's the
Yeah,
same with testimonials. Make sure you get permission. If it's private in DM and email, do make sure you get permission. Now, if they
yeah.
posted it publicly, use away.
Yeah, and that includes, I think it does include comments, right? So sometimes I get great testimonials in comments on my posts, right? Where somebody will say, "Oh yeah, this," and then, Beth, because of this, I really love, okay, testimonial. I mean, it's definitely
Yeah.
an ego fluffer for me. So
Oh, heck yeah. I use from the comments all day long.
yeah. In fact, if you are a big poster and you're not even thinking about it, go back and look at some of your posts and see what you can pull out of there for many reasons, but not the least of which might be you might be have some great stuff. You could put a few little snippets on a graphic or something. Oh wait, I'm
Yeah.
getting ahead of myself. Heidi's got all these
We're
great.
getting ready. Oh no, we're good. We're building up to that right now. Let's get to Renee real quick here,
Yeah,
and let's see. Renee said this is very helpful to know how to share a template to help someone leave a testimonial.
yeah,
Totally recommend it because people don't always know what to say. So go ahead and have a few
yeah.
pre-questions that guide
Well,
them. Say, look, this is just examples. You could follow this or whatever.
you have
Uh,
some great templates and guides too, and, I used to do this in corporate where people just didn't know, and I would actually write out because sometimes they would ask you, "Can you just write the recommendation for me?" And I'll just, promote it or put it out there, but you can even write, in some sort of a template form. I worked with blank on blank and just make it really easy and then, hopefully they can tweak it a bit. But yeah, just don't give them anything to question. Sometimes people are just a little hesitant and anything that you can give them that will lead them to the right way is
yeah,
always helpful.
I do try to get them to do it in their words as much as possible because I do
100%.
want to know what they're thinking. But it would be
Yeah.
easy for me to write my own review and just put their name
Yeah,
on it.
yeah. I mean, you don't wanna go into the detail, but maybe it's, I worked with blank on Heidi on blank, or maybe you even know because and then tell me what happened, how was I valuable to you? And
Yeah.
so yeah.
Let's see. Renee said, name the problem you were experiencing, why you came to me, share what specifically I helped with. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And then she says, this workshop is helpful. Thank you. My biggest takeaway as a by the way, thank you, Ego Fluff. Yes.
Yes, thanks.
My biggest takeaway is struggling testimonial sharer up until now, the template. Share the
Yeah.
problem you were experiencing, why you came to me, share how I helped, and now how problem was
Yeah,
solved, details if possible, recommend.
yeah.
There's your template.
Perfect.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I might steal that
Wonderful.
from you, Renee. Thank you. That's you said it crystallized my thoughts perfectly, better than
Renee,
I
you
could.
just created the template for us as well. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Mhm.
So, um, let me ask anybody out there in the audience, since you're all here talking to us, and you as well, Beth. I mean, when you get testimonials, are you not using them in your social proof in your business because it feels like you're bragging? Does anybody struggle with that? Oh, Renee says it's already all yours. What about you, Beth? Do you sometimes struggle?
Of I don't as much anymore, but I certainly did when I started. Like, I've had a lot of practice at this and, wonderful coaches like you, Heidi, who have really opened. I didn't even know what social proof was 5 years ago. What is social proof, right? And you kind of so now I have a file and yeah, I mean, I it still sometimes feels a little. That's why I like to get creative. I mean, some people are just very upfront in black and white, and here it is, and that's great. Whatever works for you. I tend to try to get a little creative, probably because I still do have a little bit of that lingering, like I don't want to be sound like I'm conceited or braggy. But on the other hand, this is really great. I mean, the pictures that people sent me when I released my book, Where the Hell's My Bacon, and they would be on the beach and they would show up or in a hot tub. And so I gotta use this stuff, right?
Yeah.
So it's probably been a little bit easier for me in that respect, but yeah, it sometimes is a little awkward, but it gets easier once the more you do
It
it.
does. It
Celebrate
does.
yourself, you're a badass.
That's
Show the
what it
world.
is right there. Celebrate yourself for sure and be proud of it. And not only that, I mean, I'll tell you what, I used to struggle with it too, for putting them out there. But what really got it for me was I started just telling the stories. I turned it into storytelling. And that's what made
Yeah,
it really comfortable for me. It was because, yes, they gave me this good result. And don't get me wrong, you guys have seen me. I've posted photos of me doing happy dance, ringing my bell, whatever, just because I got something really great feedback back from a client. And I think it's okay to do that kind of stuff. It's not bragging, it's truly celebrating. You helped someone in a way that made an impact and they let you know it made an impact.
yeah, yeah.
What is wrong with that?
Yeah, well, that's our inner voice and our inner critic saying imposter syndrome. Like, why would you? Are you so great? Yeah, you are. You are great.
You
Somebody
are.
said you're great. They loved what you do. Let the world know. And if it's a little awkward, then just be a little creative with it. Tell a story or create a fun graphic or post a picture of somebody reading your book by the beach and whatever. It's you can get creative and it'll be fine. You'll survive and it'll get easier. Definitely.
It definitely gets so easier. And I mean, to turn testimonials into, kick-ass content that converts, it isn't that hard. So the big thing I do with it, and this is what's really really helped me, is like I said, the storytelling. But I also actually use a format for a lot of it when I do it, and sometimes I'll just post it up there and it's pretty, it'll
Yeah.
go with another post just to make the post more.
Yeah.
I got so many different ways of doing this, but the one way I do it when I'm creating, quote, the storytelling format of sharing the testimonial, I always try to screenshot if possible. You can copy and paste it too, but the screenshots, if you can do it, like the photo on the beach or even anything that you can do where you actually show from that person, makes it more valid
I agree.
immediately. Because anything else, people immediately go, did they actually say that or did she make it up?
Right. I took screenshots of all my Amazon reviews and I would put them in a graphic of some sort. But yeah,
Yeah.
100%. I do. I consider that a little bit more authentic. And it's not that I question anybody, but I see that and I go, oh, they copied and pasted it from something that looks pretty official. I mean, I guess if you're really good at Photoshop, you could fake it, but
Well,
not
this
likely.
day and age, though, with all the influencers taking the fake photos in front of the Ferrari or on the
Yeah,
private jet or this kind of stuff, people have gotten a little, and then a lot of people also know about fake testimonials because we've all heard the Amazon stuff with that, with, that they stack the testimonials. So people have gotten a little bit like, is it real? So I do try to make sure when you're going to start turning these into content, if you can, refer back. I mean, like the other day, somebody was asking me, they're like, hey, can I talk, do you have any testimonials or anything from any of the past people you worked with? I go, see, I'm like, go over to LinkedIn, and there's somewhere between 30
Right.
and 40 sitting there. And I like, and not only that, I said, you are welcome to reach out to any person on there and talk to them. So
Yeah.
immediately I'm confident enough that I'm saying, go talk to the people.
Yeah.
So I think that's really important in your content, is to be very open where you can. Obviously, we can't always name everybody. We want to keep it,
Right.
but there are ways that even in that, you can maybe screenshot a piece of it, remove all the identifying pieces in that. But where I was going with this, a template I kind of use when I'm sharing an actual post about it and I'm creating it for it, is really important. What makes you look and seem more, not seem, that you are more valid, that you know what you're doing, is I use a case study format. And I don't know if you've noticed this in the story, because I do it as a story, not just truly problem, how we did it in results. But I use a storytelling format where I do talk about where the client started, the problem they had, what they were struggling with. And then I go all the way through what we did, how we got them through the transformation. And then I end with the results. And I think that's really important for that whole process. And a lot of people forget, though, the one thing they forget in this particular format, and this works really well, but they forget the middle. So they go straight from problem to transformation.
Yeah.
The part that makes people realize you're an actual expert, guys, is you talk about the shit in the middle.
Well, that's brilliant on your part, Heidi, because sometimes we do get those not super robust testimonials. So, okay, you got it. What are you going to do? It doesn't have a lot of the detail in there. Guess what? You provide the detail in your case study story. That's amazing. So they say, hey, this is my problem and here's the transformation, and you provide, well, here's what we did, right? That's brilliant.
Yes. So it
Make
takes
them,
away that generic praise. And that's why I did want to bring this in. So, a lot of the testimonials you get, no matter what you do, we've got clients who, like Beth, are really willing to get in there and do the details. And then you've got the people who really are only comfortable with saying, wow, it was great.
yeah,
And so what we can do is we can share the process and
that's
what it
brilliant.
looked like. But by including the middle part, which is literally the biggest mistake I see people make when they use these as social proof, is they only talk about that and that, and then people cannot. It's like it was smooth sailing, which we all know it was not. It's
Yeah.
rarely smooth sailing. So people actually want to know about the struggle. They even want to know if maybe you had some problems get taking
Yeah.
the client from that point, or the client had a hump to get over, a block to get through, and then talk about where the shift happened, how it
Yeah.
began
That's
to happen,
brilliant.
and take it on the other side. That's believable social proof, and that's what actually works so well. And that's why I love doing social proof. And it makes it work, because you're answering the questions of people. They're thinking, okay, great, I might want to work with this person. I see they solve this problem. I see they're saying they can get this transformation, but what's that going to look like actually working with them?
Yeah.
And so if
Way to
you,
make lemonade. You're making a lemon chiffon pie out of lemons, Heidi. Out of a lemon-ish testimonial, you are just creating a masterpiece. And that's actually brilliant. I have never consciously thought about that.
yeah.
I'm going to put that on my list of
Yeah,
ways to do great testimonials.
yeah, and it's so easy to do. And when you just tell it as a story, my client started here, and then you could put together actual case studies. I do recommend doing that. Case studies are very
Sure.
believable forms of social proof. So
Yeah.
Canva makes it easy, by the way, guys. And they got so many case study templates. Use them. Don't make this hard. But for example, I had one of my clients named Sylvia that came with me. This was an odd one. I even got lucky that she probably would have rescheduled anyway, but she signed up on Thanksgiving Day for a call. She booked a call with me. I had forgotten to book out my
Oh,
Thanksgiving
geez.
Day. I just had happened to look at my calendar, and I turned over to Dave and I was like, "Oh shit, somebody booked a call." And he goes,
I did
"Are
that
you going to
once.
take it?" And I was like, we were kind of just sitting around, and
Yeah.
we're in Portugal, guys, and so
Yeah.
unless we get together with expat friends, nobody
You
celebrates
don't
things.
got grandma cooking the turkey in the kitchen going, "What are you doing taking a
Yeah.
call during Thanksgiving?"
So I was just like, okay, screw it. I was like, I'm going to take it. But she had run across a testimonial I had shared in a post from William Lynn, good copywriter, by the way.
Yeah.
I had shared one from him, and I was like, okay, I'll just go ahead and do it. Well, literally within 2 hours of her seeing that testimonial from him and doing a little more reading in my stuff, she booked the call and then signed a contract.
It's
I mean,
gold.
in 2 hours. So that's how much social proof your testimonials can do for you. So please be using them.
What's your favorite way to use them? So other than your case studies, Heidi, because you first of all, you did a great not everybody out there, don't worry, you don't have to get this elaborate, but Heidi did a great testimonial for me. I remember when you got my book, I sent it to you in Portugal, and she did a video of revealing she knew it was from me. Yeah, so she opened the thing, and it was very on the fly, brief, but it was just a great, sincere, and that's the feeling that you want to get in your testimonials, is that feeling of, oh, this is real, and it is not fake. It is not somebody just it's not an Amazon, I got paid to but I'm really giving you an honest review even though you gave me the product for free. It's just that sincerity. So other than the case studies, which I know you do brilliantly, and I'm going to start adopting that, but what's your favorite way to use a testimonial, or some other ways maybe that you use them?
I mean, sometimes I just literally use it as a graphic paired with a post where I'm promoting something like the collective now. I mean, we've promoted a couple times. We've just taken screenshots of comments people, or people in the collective have left, and we've screenshotted it. And literally, it's the graphic. Other than that, we don't mention it. It's just there.
Yeah.
That's a really easy way to do it. Sometimes I pull a one liner from it that I'm like,
Yeah.
it just made it real impactful. Another way I like to do it, I'm doing my Friday gratitude post where I'm shouting out people and the people that made an impact on me
Great.
that day. And of course, I guess this is me giving in this case, but it's a great piece of content. So I'm throwing it out there, whether there's social proof, but I don't know. And I don't know sometimes I'm going to shout out the people that give me good testimonials too. And sometimes that's how they end up in my gratitude post it's my clients.
Yeah.
They've said cool
You do a
stuff.
great job of that, of weaving just little snippets in. It's not just about, "All right, I'm gonna tag this person because, they're gonna be on a
Yeah.
live with me." You put a lot of little stuff and I try to do that too, right? You know what? There's always a little bit of a story that, and, it's public, so go ahead and use that. I know you mentioned Canva earlier. Canva actually has a pretty, if anybody's using Canva, they have a really big library of testimonial recommendation designs that if you're wanted to do a graphic and you're really not sure, you can just, like Heidi said, screenshot something that somebody put out there publicly and throw it into the ready-made graphic, and you don't have to worry about. And it's that's a fun way to do it too.
There's so many ways, guys. Just please be using them. They are great content. Social proof is so
Oh my
important
gosh,
to
yeah,
you. Let's jump over and see what we got going on in the comments. Let's see, Renee, I love those beach post reviews on Amazon.
those
And
are
then she
great.
says, no, do not use the Amazon testimonials on your website if you are an Amazon affiliate. I did not know that. So thank you
Yeah.
for that, Renee. It's violating their terms. And if you have your affiliate revoked, don't ask me how I know. Oh, I'm so sorry, honey.
Well, unfortunately, I'm not an Amazon affiliate, so
Stella Scott, better late than never. Hey, Stella.
Stella.
Beth Ann is the testimonial queen. She is.
You
Well,
know,
but I always say I give good testimonials. Beth gives
Well,
damn
and
awesome.
I have venues too, so get a little creative too. If you have I did a full podcast on Stella's course that I took from her. I've done full podcast recommendations for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because if I really believe in something and it's great, I like to talk about it. So if you have other venues where you can, and yet, by the way, this type of thing is a great testimonial. I mean, there's testimonials in the comments here. We've given some
Mhm.
verbal ones too. So
Yeah.
this is a great way to give and receive when you're just interacting with people in a live. It's gold. This is opportunity gold here
I mean,
for
yeah,
you.
here's an example. Stella right now. Solid advice from you, Heidi. I'm gonna get better at using my testimonials. I can go actually just screenshot that right
Yeah,
now. And Stella say ego fluff there. We're gonna keep
yeah.
on with ego fluff. Remember, guys, that's what this is you are making someone else feel better, but
Mhm.
also when you're using it, think about how that does your confidence level and how that's going to reinforce the confidence in your potential clients of wanting to work with you. So don't be hiding these. It's not bragging.
Yeah, and if
You're,
you're uncomfortable, remember discomfort is the gateway to growth and the
yes.
herald of opportunity. So just it is a little uncomfortable when you first give one if you're just not sure, but just try it. It's you'll your heart will fill when somebody is just so full of gratitude because you've said something about them that, maybe they weren't expecting or it just gives them fills their cup.
Yeah, as usual, we're probably going to run over just a few minutes with me and Beth. Unfortunately, we always have a lot we want to share with you guys, but we are heading towards the end of our session today. So drop in the comments what questions you have for Beth, me on this topic in general. Any questions, comments, go ahead and get those in now while we tell you about the lovely gift that Beth brought for you. So she has got her Blah to Badass book, the no bullshit guide to channeling your leadership guilt. I can tell you
Grit.
this guide is badass. I know, I helped to edit it. It takes 2 seconds to sign up for it, have it downloaded straight to your inbox. Beth, tell them a little more about Blah to
Yeah,
Badass.
From Blah to Badass is a book that I wrote, and it is really just a the what you should do and not do to be a good leader. And it's a little corporatey, but it really can apply to really anybody in a lot of situations. And it's a little raw. So as with most everything I do, it's a little, well, maybe a lot sweary sometimes, but and some great stories of my some of my situations in the corporate world where I encountered good or bad leadership. So check it out. I think Heidi will put the link in the comments, but it's free to download. Just need your email and your name, and boom, it'll take you to a PDF version that you can have for your pleasure, for your swearing and corporate leadership pleasure.
Totally get it, guys. It's once again, you can kind of snort and laugh through it all the way too, because Beth really names the different types of leaders quite well, and that's all
Yeah.
I'm going to say. You got to go download it to actually find out. But yeah, we will drop it in the comments right after the show. So if for any reason you don't see the link, because sometimes LinkedIn hides it up there, let me know. We'll make sure you get it.
Yep.
And next week's guest, Lion Flood, is going to be joining me.
Lion. I
Oh,
love
yeah, Lion
Lion.
joining me. We're going to be talking about zooming like a pro tips
Oh,
and tools that keep your audience focused and engaged. If you use Zoom or go live on any platform, it doesn't have to be just Zoom. He's even got trips for Restream, things like that, as well as StreamYard, whatever. You are going to want to make sure you click attending right here on LinkedIn or over on YouTube as well. Add it to your calendar. Come join the conversation live for us. And Beth, what's one last small piece of advice you want to leave our audience with today?
Oh, I want you just to just do it, right? My motto is don't think about it, just do it. So think about something in your world where you've had great service from somebody, you had some great coaching, you took a course or a master class, and you just really got a lot out of it, or you got some value to it. Go out there and write an unexpected, unsolicited testimonial. You will feel so good about yourself, and you'll make that person feel good, and you'll get some great energy back. So I say just do it. Just try it.
Yeah. If you're listening to this show, you're here today, I'm going to challenge you to do it right after we get off here. Go ahead and just drop somebody one. Help make their day
Yeah,
because you know how good that makes you feel as well. And it does. Honestly, it makes you feel good just leaving it, but it also remember how good it makes you feel receiving them as well. So
absolutely.
going to totally challenge you guys to do that and start doing that regularly. We've got Carrie with a question here. Do you do a client survey after they finish a course? And if so, what do you include and what do you use it to? What do you use to do it? I got tongue twisted on that one. Beth, I'll let you start with this one.
So I have not done client surveys per se. So I can't really speak to that. My client days are have been limited, and my clients themselves limited. I wanted to do it in corporate, but I always got knocked down. But I've received some. So yeah, I always get them after the course is finished, right? And then what do you use it, or what do you use to do it? There's a lot of different options out there. There are Survey Monkeys one, or Heidi, you probably have a lot of experience in this and probably have some good options for how to do surveys. But I will say this is not super in my wheelhouse.
Yeah, I wasn't sure, but I knew you had your whole corporate background, so I
I've
didn't know if
used
you'd
them in
ever
the
done.
past. In the day, I used SurveyMonkey. When I was in corporate, I would send surveys out to get some unsolicited, but and I know people do use that, but that's probably been 6 or
It's still
7
a good
years.
one.
Is it
It's
still
still a
okay?
good one. Yeah. And yes, so Carrie, I do client surveys. And this year, like I was talking about earlier in the show, is I actually intend to do them after all my events this year. It's finally something in the past, I did them sporadically, but I'm actually adding it to my actual marketing as a regular thing now. And I'm going to be doing them after every workshop and event I do and host out live. But I do highly recommend it. Yes, there. I gotta say, I do always struggle whether I give it to them partway through the course, which is when I've gotten it from some of my coaches and things like that. I'm got partway through and they're already giving it to me, or do you wait till you get done? My feelings, this is my feelings, right or wrong on this. My feeling has always been I want them to complete it first, because otherwise, it's like, how do they know they're going to get the results? But
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think on that, Beth? Do you have any opinions on that?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm taking a course, I would prefer to get it at the end, right? Because you never know. The other thing too that I would think about if this were me is how can I use this publicly? So if you're doing a survey, there are probably two things here. One is a survey is great for feedback. I would want to know how am I doing? What can I do better? Is there anything that you would change, right? But then there's also the testimonial part, and the testimonial part you have to be a little careful with surveys because they tend to be anonymous. Now, some maybe they're not. If you're one-on-one coaching, they wouldn't be, but I've seen them before where they might say, might have a little disclaimer of saying, "Hey, we may use this. Or do you have anything that you wouldn't mind using publicly, or we're going to use it publicly, or
Mhm.
put your name here if you'd like to be, if you're
Yep.
okay with us for follow up." But
Yep.
when you do a survey, sometimes it's implied that it's anonymous, so you do have to be careful. Now, that doesn't mean you can't use material, as we talked about, as long as it's not
Anonymous.
revealing,
Yeah.
but you would have to be a little careful. But I would prefer to get them at the end.
Yeah, that's me. I mean, ethically, I feel like how can I be asking for a testimonial when I aren't even done with it yet?
Yeah,
But I also know that some people start with it earlier because they do know people take a bit to give them. And so
yeah.
I kind of get what their thinking is there. But yeah, I mean, it's up to you, whatever's going to work for you in that particular case. And then as far as what do you include, honestly, that's going to depend on what you're doing and what you want to know after the event. So I'm gonna have to leave that open because it depends. And what you use, I use Google Forms, and I do ask for names, but I am with Beth. If you're going to use it in testimonials, if you're going to use it in public, do have the thing in there that says you're going to. And what I do on my form is I ask for their name and their email, and I have the questions that I'm asking for the information on. And then at the bottom, I have an option, can we contact you if we have more questions? And then I also have a line in all of them. If you have some kind words to leave or some to that
Brilliant.
effect, put them
Perfect.
here. And then those are the only ones we use. We
That's
don't
perfect.
use anything else from the testimonial.
Yeah,
And
just
that's how I
disclosure.
handle it.
I love
And
that. I love
yeah,
that.
that gets you around it and gets you something you can use in public, but also allows the answers they actually give
Yeah,
for the survey to stay. you know,
Yeah, you
either
want
don't,
people to give you especially if
yeah,
you're asking for feedback on what can I do better or what did you love so I can continue doing that. You want honest feedback, and sometimes
yeah,
people are not. I mean, I know this from the corporate days. Are they really anonymous surveys? So, you do want to, honor that and respect the integrity of the anonymity of honest feedback. And
yeah,
that's a great way to have a little section that says, "Hey, this do you have some kind words that we could share?" Right? And so now
yeah,
you can put that out there. Or some
yeah.
crappy words that you could share and I can make a fun post out of it. Whatever. You never know.
Whatever it is, I would rather have honest feedback that you didn't enjoy it, that I can make some improvements. I would rather
Right.
have that than only you do my ego fluff.
Right. Right.
I might feel a little sad at first, but I know it's for good as long as you give it in a good constructive manner.
Yes.
So, Renee says, I hosted a free 3 day challenge last week, which went well. Congratulations.
Oh,
With some great feedback given directly to me, but the survey that went out in the mail, Google form, did not get any responses. I find I have to actually, the best way, and guys, I know we got to wrap this up. The best way I've found to actually get people to respond back, I've tried sending it out to everybody that was at the event after one. I rarely get any feedback. What I do is I send a DM out, and I know it
great
takes
idea.
a little longer, but I actually get results.
Yeah, I
So
was gonna say, ask again, maybe in a different way in some other format. So yeah, great
it's
idea.
people probably didn't look at the email, and if they did, or it just, I don't know what it is. There is a disconnect there when you ask for it by email, but I rarely get feedback when I do the survey by email. Instead, I create a template, and I send it out to everybody that was at the event live. And I know once you get up maybe several hundred people attending, that might be a little less doable, but it's something to think about. If you truly want to get feedback back, then you're going
Yeah.
to have to reach out. It just, everybody's bombarded with stuff these days.
Yep.
So, but let's
Great
see,
question.
Stella. So true. Honesty is what helps you improve your service. I totally agree.
It really does. Whether it's good or bad. I mean, again, if you go out there like sometimes you do, and you say, you know what, this didn't go exactly well. I got my 1 star review, and I'm sorry, Alice didn't like, my book. But people appreciate it that you're just not trying to hide the fact that you're not perfect, and it adds to the authenticity and the sincerity. And so, yeah, I love
Well,
it.
there's actually research done that says if you only have 5 star reviews and nothing else, that people actually, again, start distrusting your reviews. You're better off with a
Absolutely.
4.73 than you are a solid 5, believe it or
Yeah.
not.
Yeah. And you have to read them sometimes too, because it's very revealing when you go somebody has a sort of low and you go, well, wait a minute, the reason is because there's only 10 reviews and 2 people said, well, I didn't like the color. It wasn't the same as on my computer screen. I'm like, well, that's not the seller's fault. It's your
Right.
graphic card's fault or whatever. But anyway,
All right, everyone. I know we ran over a little bit. And so thank you so much for joining us and being here with us today. Thank you so much, Beth, for all the gold.
thank
I mean,
you, Heidi.
there's so much we could always share with you guys on these shows. If you have questions on this, you have thoughts, drop them in the comments. And thank you so much for audience for bringing all your energy, your
Yes,
questions, staying
love
with
it.
us here till the
Great
end.
questions. Great
Phones,
questions.
yeah, we appreciate you so much because you are what helps make these shows. For everybody who couldn't join us live, please drop your biggest takeaway, your questions in the comments with the hashtag replay. We'll make sure we pop back by and answer them.